Master, let's kill the whole beach!
Well, in spite of that introduction, Zerk and I here have some things we want to say about FE Heroes, and how its mere existence brings a lot of promise to the series.
Right you are, my friend. Even though we're mostly in the dark about FE Mobile, what with us not even having a proper name for it until 2 weeks ago, the future of Fire Emblem seems brighter than ever, especially since we'll be getting Gaiden remakes, which, when Omni initially crossed timelines, we did a video about over on my channel.
And I hope you guys go check that out once you're done here if you haven't done so already. But for now, we're going to keep things simple. These are 3 reasons we have faith in the future of Fire Emblem. Just keep in mind that this video is looking at Fire Emblem from a more meta stance, since we'll be talking about Nintendo. Now this game is a step in the right direction, since, you know, they only have complete dominion over the sale of Fire Emblem. Now with that out of the way, let's cut to the chase.
It's no real secret that I'm not the biggest fan of Nintendo when looking at the company as a business. Nintendo has made many missteps with their IPs, hardware, and just as a modern developer in general. But truth be told, the biggest mistake I think they always make is being infamous for refusing to market a game and then whining about poor sales when they refuse to push the product in the first place.
And as a plucky and naive college student who wants to major in economics to try and earn some greenbacks, Nintendo's financial decisions leave me more confused than people who find Cordelia as a good waifu. Now, despite the fact that I'm not an econ major yet, I do know more about money making than the average college student. And what I'm about to say is probably college-level econ stuff, but I'll try to keep it simple since I'm just a tactician, not a professor. All industries fall into one of 4 market structures: perfectly competitive, monopolies, monopolistic competition, and oligopolies. Now I'm sure we all know what a monopoly is, but unless you're well versed in economics or made it past week 2 of AP Macro like I did, those other 3 market structures sound completely foreign to you. I'll focus on oligopolies and monopolistic competition since those are the 2 that matter here. A good example of an oligopoly is the console market, as an oligopoly is an industry that has a few firms that are all in competition with one another.
In regards to the console market, the firms in direct competition with Nintendo are Microsoft and Sony, and I guess you could argue for Steam. Each firm sells their consoles to consumers. However, in oligopolies, firms are forced to be creative and innovative to stay relevant in a market, of course. This is done in the console market by creating newer and better consoles to sell us games, or by making fun, new, and exciting games for these consoles.
Precisely. Oligopolies are fairly common, as pretty much any industry that has name branding is an oligopoly. Hell, the toothpaste market is an oligopoly.
Alright, Omni. I'll bite. You seem to know what you're at least talking about in a general sense, so what are you getting at?
Well, Zerk, can you tell me what kind of market the mobile gaming market is?
Given the context, I'd have to say oligopoly.
Wrong! Wrong! So fucking wrong!
Well, how the hell was I supposed to know?
Don't worry, Zerk. You just gave the same answer as Nintendo would have.
Really? Now you have my attention. Keep talking.
Why, yes. In fact, let's look at Nintendo's most recent attempt at storming the mobile scene. Super Mario Run. Super Mario Run was a Nintendo game that was made for mobile. The reception for it was generally positive, but many criticized the game for being too simple. But those were critics. Actual players, on the other hand, were much harsher on the game for requiring an internet connection for a game that honestly doesn't need one, and the $10 price tag.
Take one look at download figures and you'll find that Super Mario Run isn't exactly Pokemon Go's levels of popular with people. But what exactly does this have to do with market structures here, Omni?
Well, the market structure that the mobile market is a monopolistic competition. Monopolistic competition is a market where there are many firms trying to differentiate themselves from each other with branding and quality. This fits the mobile market to a T because there are over 2 million apps on the App Store, each trying to compete with one another. But when Nintendo, competing with a bunch of free-to-play games, all of which are the highest grossing on the App Store, wants to charge $10 for a watered-down Mario game, it just doesn't work. But FE Heroes does. FE Heroes looks simple, fun, and addictive. Its gameplay is similar enough to Fire Emblem, with the weapon triangle, reimagined fan-favorite maps, and the entire roster of Fire Emblem accessible with a traditional free-to-play system. That right there screams $signs. This new outlook on the mobile market has me more optimistic for Nintendo, as I'm sure that FE Heroes will be a great move for Nintendo that allows them to be more confident in Fire Emblem and invest more resources into the future FE titles down the road.
Now, while Omni has talked about Nintendo's shift in attitude towards the mobile market, I decided that I'd take a bit more of a stance in regards to the addition of characters from Fire Emblems 1 to 6, and how it gives hardcore Fire Emblem fans more hope than ever before. When I first had a look at the trailer for FE Heroes, I noticed something very interesting. During the direct, we were shown a lot of new artwork for characters at one point, and there was even one shot where we were shown a huge splash art of many characters from past and present.
Well, before we get to the good stuff, we see front and center a bunch of fan-favorite characters. Of course, we see the favorites of Fates, with Takumi and then Camilla.
Fuck you! Kill yourself!
Lyn, the first lord for many players in the West, who has great legs, a larger bust now, and huge lasting power. Followed by the two characters who helped FE get into the West in the first place, Marth and Roy, thanks to their appearance in Melee. And to round off these frontliners, we get Tiny Tiki from her Arakanea appearances, and the fan favorites of Awakening, Robin, and Lucina.
However, after all the recognizable faces fade, many older characters, most not even released in the West, make an appearance. On the left we have two of the primary antagonists of Fire Emblem 6, the Binding Blade, Narcian and Zephiel, followed by Ogma from Arcania, and then we get back to a bunch more FE6 characters, with Wendy, Sophia, Fur, and Clarine all close together. And it doesn't stop there. We even get Rai, Shanna, and Lilina, and once you get past this wonderful new artwork of Florina, the trend of FE6 characters stops for a bit, as we see Alincia and even Chrom back here, next to whom I can only assume is Arvis from Genealogy of the Holy War, but I'm not quite sure. Going back to FE6, we then see two FE7 characters, but possibly in their older age, as we see Bartray rocking his mustache, and Eliwood, whose distance from the camera makes it unclear if it is his FE6 or FE7 design. Who knows? Omni even uncovered another possibility, as it's very likely that a Pegasus Knight from Gaiden known as Palla is this green-haired knight in front of Alincia, aside from being Serene, who I initially thought. Now, if you're wondering why Omni has let me talk for so long, it's because I am a firm believer in a theory that he might be a bit hesitant to accept.
Mostly because it's a bit early to jump to conclusions, and I don't want to get on the hype train until we have a clear destination.
Well, Omni, I think there's a convincing argument to be made in the popular theory that Fire Emblem Echoes is going to be a sub-series that will feature FE6 as the next game to be adapted. I find it strange that the entire DLC roster in Smash 4 we received two Fire Emblem characters. Corrin's inclusion was obvious, but Roy coming back seems highly out of place, especially considering fan demand for Roy's return was rather dismal. It also seems suspicious that with FE Heroes having new voice lines for characters, it makes sense for characters returning from Fates, Awakening, and Tellius. However, hiring an entirely new voice cast for the GBA series seems highly suspect to me, especially when considering that FE voice actors have a nasty habit of reprising roles. Given that, along with, at the current time, most of the new artwork surrounding Shadow Dragon and FE6, I have a proposition. Given Gaiden's relative obscurity, I peg Echoes as a tester, much like Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, a film that was made to test the waters, determining if such an obscure property could be made financially successful. Marvel would know if they could pull whether such an obscure comic book out their ass, and it would be guaranteed to make money. It's a similar situation here with the Gaiden remake. If this one sells well, Echoes will become a sub-series and FE6 will be the next game to be remade. All the groundwork, the voice cast, the art style, the interest due to Roy's inclusion in Smash, and the fan demand for at least an English virtual console release we've had for years, the foundation is there, and it only makes sense that it will happen. And if you're still reluctant to believe me, in Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, many second-gen characters appeared. And guess what happened next? Nintendo and their subsidiaries have done it before, and given the current situation, I definitely think they'll do it again.
Well, FE6 is quickly becoming one of my favorite Fire Emblem games, if not my favorite, so I'm not against the theory, I just think we have to see how Echoes goes, wait for Heroes feedback to come in, and wait it out. But I do have one thing I'd like to add.
And what's that, Omni?
Who the fuck is Marduk, and what happened to Murdoch? Now, these points have been one-sided on Who Talks. We both got quite a bit to say about this final point.
Oh, yes. We could go on and on about this, as we even did when we got on Skype and wasted about an hour and a half just bouncing ideas back and forth.
But we won't make you listen to our thoughts on this for 5 hours, just the next 3 or so minutes.
Just given all of the information we have around FE Warriors and FE Heroes as a benchmark, we have now a game that has been being demanded to be made since Hyrule Warriors, and we now think it could have quite the roster.
You see, given our limited knowledge of FE Warriors after the Switch presentation, I thought we were going to get every old school fan's biggest nightmare. A roster of Fates/Awakening characters with some Shadow Dragons sprinkled in for the pandering. As for older characters, they'd be shoved down our throats as DLC.
I, on the other hand, was slightly more optimistic, as I thought we were going to get a good amount of representation from the 3DS titles, with the main characters from the older games being added as well. Like, Roy, Seliph, Alm, and Celica.
But now...
Given that FE Heroes is having a larger roster than Camilla's bust,
everything is free game!
Anyone can be in this game.
Give me my walking magical nuke of adorableness, Lilina! You gave her a voice actor! Let her slaughter Narshan and Zephyl, please!
Just give me Lyn and her Manikati and let me play as my waifu for hundreds of hours. God damn it, Nintendo, I need this.
At the risk of sounding like Etika, let me play as my first waifu, Lucina!
Hold up. Lucina was your first waifu?
Look, middle school was a dark time for me.
I am so sorry to hear that, man. I feel for you. I really do.
I'm over it. Because we can play as the Black Knight!
Oh shit, yeah, the Black Knight. Oh yeah, you're damn right. You know what else? I want to see Ephraim. I want to see him take his lance.
Like
I want to see him on a sword. I just want to see him like ram through like 50 freaking people, like right freaking out of the gate. Freaking wham,
on her wyvern and cut people's head
dude,
off with
we need
her axe.
Freaking,
I
already
see
said
my
Lynn,
girl
so
Tana,
like,
and let her
I
do
don't know,
triangle attacks
Joshua
with Pegasi
would be
that
great.
she summons
Do you know I
from
like
the
Sacred
heavens.
Stones? I like Sacred Stones a lot.
Give me
and
all
Joshua
of it.
should be like
Dani,
seeing like
Darja,
Sigurd and Seliph and like all those
best
old
girl,
characters, and oh my
Mighty
god,
Midori,
Celica rendered in glory.
Hey guys, Omni here. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching this video. This video has been more or less along the lines of the type of content I wanted to make for the channel for a very, very, very long time. I just have not had the ability to do so because of resources and financing and trying to figure things out with college. But I managed to get this thing done. All the editing in this video was not done by me. It was all done by Zerk, which I want to thank him again for doing all of that. That man came through. He said, you know what, I can handle the editing. I'm like, are you sure? Just give me the files. I gave him the files, and everything worked great. So, appreciate you so damn much for that. As for those of you who came to me from Zerk's video, hi. That's all I wanted to really say. And I just want to say that I got some LP stuff if you want to look at it, because I gotta figure out how to do annotations and whatnot, probably somewhere on the right side of the screen if I do things right. So, hopefully you guys will be interested in what I'm currently doing as my FE Path of Radiance LP, which is going on. It's a blind run, never played it before, or my newly completed FE6 stream LP, which basically is my first reaction of going through FE6 for the first time, of the Redux version of this. And yeah, I don't go it alone, I go with some people. It mostly is Max, but Kyle shows up occasionally when Max can't make it, so I hope that interests you guys, as you will find a lot of rage, screaming, and worshipping in that video. All the videos. FE6 was a weird LP. Anyways, I hope to see you guys next time for whenever the hell I do something like this again, or my update that I'll probably have going up today. Regardless, thank you all so much for watching. With that being said, I am out of here.